Hi everyone, welcome to week 3. This week we'll be spending more time considering what it means to engage in a living inquiry and the orientations and dispositions that it requires. More specifically, I hope to spend a good amount of time thinking about what it means to notice, to pay attention, and what it might mean to do this artfully, thinking about the art of noticing. We'll begin to discuss interpretation within a phenomenological lens and how we might think with language as an important tool to enliven these interpretations with enhanced meaning, not only conceiving of language as a poetic device to illuminate something, but also how the use of certain words matter and have particular histories, origins, and contextual meanings attached to them. So in other words, they have etymological significance. So I've posted in week 3 a link to an etymology dictionary, so you can begin investigating the origins of words such as beauty, time, hospitality, or whichever concept you may be considering for your living inquiry assignment. So consider the origins of these words and how they come to matter in the lived experience of your inquiries. So this week we'll begin to discuss the role of language in living inquiry, and we'll spend more time with etymology next week. So to do this week, by Monday, you should have revisited Van Manen Chapter 1, read Chapter 2, pages 35 to 41, and Chapter 3, pages 54 to 62. Also, you would have read the Acts of Noticing section of the Material Encounters Exhibit Catalog by Sylvia Kind, which is on the last page, and also Karen Meyer's article, Living Inquiry. So by Friday at 11:55 p.m., post a link to your portfolio entry 3 and post a response in the Arts of Noticing forum, and there'll be more details of that in the next slides. By Sunday at 11:55 p.m., engage and respond to 2 other entries on the portfolio entry 3 forum. So this is to support you in creating a portfolio that is very much collaborative and relational in nature. So be sure to engage in some dialogue on the forum there. Participate also in your 1-hour virtual collaboratory, and I've posted some guidelines just to help provoke a conversation relevant to the readings in the week 3 Moodle. And lastly, respond to 2 other posts in the Arts of Noticing forum by Sunday at 11:55. So just some quick housekeeping items. If you missed last week's live group chat, you can access a recorded conversation, our recorded conversation, by clicking on the Sunday chat page and then the tab that says View Past Chat Sessions. There I answered some questions about the portfolio and inquiry assignments. And of course, if you still have questions, please feel free to email me and we can chat via Skype if you like. Also, the written paper will now be due on Sunday, December 9th to give you that weekend to edit and really tighten up your writing. If you haven't yet, please have one member of your virtual collaboratory group email me with a list of your members, the date and time you'll be meeting for the term, as well as an editable link to your Google Doc. So some ideas to think with as you respond to others' portfolio entries. Really try to move beyond surface acknowledgments. So if you find something interesting, discuss in detail why that is and how this area of interest might matter as you begin composing yourself as a teacher researcher. What is particularly striking or moving about this piece? How has it affected you? Consider how this entry provokes you to think. What questions or curiosities do you gather from engaging with this piece? What else might be at play here that the author might further attend to? So in a very supportive way, provide questions and curiosities which may extend, enhance, or complexify the work. Provide connections that you are making to the work in relation to the readings and personal experiences, and make links, of course, to the reading and course content. And I will post these provocations on Moodle. So to start off our discussion with living inquiry, I think we can think of living inquiry as an entanglement of knowing, being, and doing, where what you know and what you do is inextricably linked to the research. So this is a significant shift from the scientific paradigm that we explored last week, whereby research maintains legitimacy and validity by means of objectivity, or whereby the researcher keeps herself outside of the phenomenon as if she can exist separately, and her understanding of the experience can be untainted by her presence and by her own personal histories. So rather, when we think of living inquiry, I encourage you to consider how your vision is dependent upon your own received vocabularies that determine what, and more importantly, how you are able to see. So as I shared last week, our orientations to research and ways of seeing do not come out of nowhere. They do not exist in a vacuum. They're actively informed by ongoing historical trajectories and cultural dispositions and presences that influence how we are able to be and become in the world. So the notion of objectivity seems to create an illusion that we can produce and reproduce knowledge that exists in isolation from these past-present histories, as if knowledge is socially, culturally, and geographically neutral. So I appreciate Donna Haraway's work in matters of objectivity and ways of seeing. From a feminist perspective, she insists on the embodied nature of all vision. To reclaim, she writes, quote, to reclaim the sensory system that has been used to signify a leap out of the marked body and into a conquering gaze from nowhere, end quote. By this quote, she's challenging the rationalities of research practices that use objectivity as a means to make large generalized claims over what are really distinct and multiple phenomena. Where researchers are able to make grand claims without accountabilities to their own positionalities within the research, she argues for situatedness in research and in pedagogy, where our understanding and descriptions of a phenomenon are eternally in part and partial to this phenomenon. So this allows us, I think, to become more answerable for what we see and how we are able to learn to see it. So within this course and the assignments, you'll need to navigate the balance between situating yourself as implicated, yet not falling too far into self-indulgence. So this form of writing of the lived experience is not solely autobiographical. It's not necessarily all about you, yet you are inevitably present and entangled as you interpret the phenomenon. So in Karen Meyer's article this week, she writes, quote, living inquiry is such resoluteness away from the tranquilizing pull of the they world, or assumed familiarities that govern us but go unnoticed, toward a practice of awareness and of inquiry into the situated contexts that we move through every day. So she also quotes Guénon when he writes that, quote, what is needed then is a way of recovering a sense of openness of the possible of our own responsibility as individuals and articulating and bringing to realization the worldly contexts in which we find ourselves. And that means being able to experience our predicament not as a mere set of circumstances subsumable under universally valid and hence anonymous principles, but as a situation where the choice demanded of us is defined by the concrete characteristics of the context itself. And I love this quote. I think this quote provokes us to reconsider the world beyond the circumstantial, as if the ways in which these worlds take shape, are neutral and without structures of meaning and history, where in the name of objectivity, claims can be made without situated contextual livelihoods, vibrancies, and detail. So living inquiry in this way is very much an interrelationship of text, topic, and writer. So there's a relationship between the text and theories you are engaging with, the focus and topic of the research, and also yourself as a writer. So in your inquiry assignment, you'll need to balance the phenomenological theory that's informing your lens, your chosen topic, as well as your own writing toward an enlivened and poetic narrative of an experience that reflects these three components and how they work together. So this process is very much, or this inquiry is very much accountable for the processes of coming to know something, not just the knowledge itself. So we very much center a process-oriented way of doing research. So in your inquiry assignment, you will not present the phenomenon as a thing. For example, this is a picture of my sister who is courageous because she does this, this, and this. Rather, you'll need to narrate a poetic description of how you have come to understand courage, in this example, as a transformative process that is living, nuanced, perhaps with tensions. It also alludes to an openness and an aspect of unknowability of the phenomenon. So in this way, an inquiry may be beautiful because of its complexity and perhaps because of its contradictions, not because it represents a common image of what courage is or should be. So I think that if you're able to show the movements and processes of courage in this example, this will offer a much more interesting narration with felt value and with nuance, as opposed to something that is static or wholly knowable. So a key disposition of a teacher researcher is to hold an attitude of questioning. And I think this is something that's very important when we're thinking about our inquiry assignment. So to always assume that there is something more to know. If we believe that we know something in its entirety, our ways of knowing become static. And there's no longer a need to wonder because we already know the answers. So research in this way involves a very deep commitment to questions, to search and research, searching and searching again in an ongoing, sustained, and systematic wondering of the worlds in which we live. And we do so in ways which disrupt and reveal previously held assumptions and expectations. So I think in this way we appreciate that research is not a confirmation of what we already know or advocacy for how we would like things to be, but rather research requires a curiosity to what ifs, and it's situated on the cusp of the not yet and what else may be possible. So in this way, I think that research and being a teacher researcher is very hopeful.